Are you a cat? Meow meow. Meow meow. You gonna lay down? Yes, you are. Meow. Meow. Okay, say hi. Okay, say hi. Mush mush. Mm-hmm. Come here, buddy. Moot. Kitty bum. Kitty bum. Kitty bum. Aw, I love you. And again, just as I'm about to work, you decide to make your presence known. I love you too, buddy. Oh, meow, meow, meow. Okay, go on. I'll cuddle you in a minute. Once again. Ugh, anyway. Hello. Tis I, Bulldog, and Lucifer. Welcome to the Bulldog Experience. That's right, the name of the show, the Bulldog Experience, because when you get to know me, it's quite the experience. I have, as per usual, my cup, which is full. My bowl, which is full. And me, Bulldog, who is very full of happiness and love to all my subscribers, my new subscribers. Man, I jumped. I went from like 510 to like 30 something or other. I last count was 30 the last time I checked. So thank you. Welcome. Welcome. I hope to be as entertaining to you as any podcaster could possibly want. So, yeah, things have been good. Hands doing very much better. Got that little scar there. Can't touch my pinky, though. I was looking. I can do it on this hand. Touch the pinky to the thumb, but I noticed I couldn't do it anymore on that hand. I guess that's the perks of surgery. So, be working on it. Get back to flexibility in the old hand. But, yeah, she's healing up quite nicely. So today, kind of left you on a little bit of a cliffhanger last week. My guest is he's a voice actor who's been a part of my childhood for many many years. Hell, even now I still watch stuff and like that. Geez, that sound like him? Yeah, it is. Yeah, John Stalker. I can't wait. It's such an awesome interview, and I'm so pleased that he took time out of his busy day to sit down with me and discuss some great stories of filmmaking and cartoon making and talk like people that he knew and yeah, it why bother talking about it? You come here to see it, so Bulldog, John, take it away. All right. I have with my next guest. I'm absolutely excited to beat the band, but you might know him for if you're a child of the 80s. He was a voice in your ear, Teddy Ruxpin, um, Adventures of or Care Bears, sorry, and Ghostbusters. The list goes on. I could talk about him all day and not let him have a word in edgewise, and that just wouldn't be fair. So I'd like to introduce to you Mr. John Stalker. Thank you very much, sir, for joining me today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, Brandon.
Yeah, school. How are you doing this fine morning?
I'm doing extremely well. I'm, life's good. Life's
Yeah,
good. It's summer, which is important to me.
yeah.
And, I have the perfect balance. I live rurally, so I have my yard and like a couple of acres that I manicure. And I've also got my voice work stuff that's continues. And so it's good. I get to combine my two passions landscaping and anything to do with voice.
So the pandemic didn't really set you back much in regard to
No, I
like.
mean, no, I mean, I think I'm very sort of a very typical sort of boomer insofar as I really love, I had my share of 60s insanity and the craziness of the 80s and early 90s. And I've settled back into a semi-hermit like life. And it's the pandemic kind of breezed over both me and my wife. I mean, living rurally, you don't interact with people like you do anyway in the
Mhm.
city. And when we did have to go out, take precautions, come right back home,
Well,
wash our hands, and we're ready to go.
that's great. That's great. So let's start off at I guess at the very beginning. So you went to school as all young children do. When was it that you got the inkling, the oh, this is something that I kind of want to pursue? Like even voice or like you did you do stuff on stage? And
Well, I'll try to go in some kind of chronological order. Um, I was 4 when I announced to my parents that I was going to be an actor. Uh, it just came and, uh, they were, I remember, I think I said it to, I don't know if I said it to my dad first. My dad was like, okay, sounds good to me, right? Uh, thinking that, well, maybe not, who knows? But, kids,
doctor, doctor.
yeah, well, you know, I guess as long as it say, hey, Dad, I'm going to be a pornographer, right? It probably would have made a difference in his response.
Very thin
But
line sometimes,
yeah,
but anyway,
but I
continue.
was, yeah, I was 4, and my first spoke. I'll never forget my first line I ever had was I was 5, and it was the kindergarten play. It was like the Mexican Christmas play, so there was a piñata, and everybody had the sticks and taking a whack at the piñata, and my line was, "What about Juanita?"
Aw.
There you go. Quite an auspicious debut. So that was my first performance. But I was always, I think, the reason I lent towards acting was because I was like the class clown. I paid the price for it too. I got thrown out of class a lot, but
I didn't
I was a performer.
I didn't have that luxury. My dad was either vice principal or superintendent of the school board, so I didn't have I had to be on my best behavior. So it
Yeah,
was one of
you
those.
would you would have just disappeared.
Oh yeah, I would have been like the
I don't know. He went out to
mafioso.
play and he never came back.
Yeah. All right. So I remember just when you said your first role, and I was thinking back to mine. I was a rooster in Beauty and the Beast for like the Suitcase Theater. And they basically anybody who auditioned got a part, and it was Beauty and the Beast, and I forgot my shoes, like my red Converse All Stars, and I was so heartbroken. But my mom said something to me that has always stuck with me. She said, "Do real roosters wear shoes?" I said, "No," and she said, "Well, go out there and be a real rooster." So I did, and my first line was "Bye, Buck." We were saying bye to the dad as he was going off to go on his journey to meet the beast and all that. But yeah, I always remember that. It's funny how those kind of things really cement into you, right? Like here you
Well,
are.
it's about all I remember. So,
Yeah, but still, it's that it's like it's one of those like huge moments in one's life that really shape a person, right? Like it obviously, and it's stuck with you all these years later that you're still able to remember that first line, right? Like those real special, amazing moments. And it's those are the things that are really precious and amazing and awesome.
today, it's like I don't remember if I'm wearing socks or not. So, it's good that I remember anything at any time. I'm really happy.
You're still pretty sharp, sir. So there's no worries about that. So okay, so 4 years old, you got the bug and continued on. What? So after high school, what sort of like you
Well, I didn't actually wait until after high school. During high school, I
mm,
was in all the school shows. Uh, some probably musicals that are long forgotten. Finian's Rainbow. Nobody knows what Finian's Rainbow is these days, I don't suspect. But yeah, I played a leprechaun. I sang. I had a pretty decent voice, and I was in the school show every year. And then the let's see. Now I failed grade 13. I think that I still went to grade 13. Matter of
mm.
fact, I loved it so much. I went twice. Um, and failed it twice. So I didn't really graduate from high school, but I was so involved in the school show. This was a show that we wrote, and I was in it. So I had an acting role. I was writing some of the songs. I helped write the script. It was an all-encompassing thing. I loved it. I was in my element, and school didn't mean enough to me.
Oops.
And so what can I say? It's my career kind of started at that point. And after school, after high school, um, there was nothing else that I wanted to do other than get into the biz full time. So I was an ACTRA member. I've got a 4-digit ACTRA number. That'll teach you that I mean, they're
Oh,
into, yeah.
oh wow. Like I
And
can't even.
yeah,
Mine's like nine.
6. Yeah,
Yeah, 6 or 7 now. Like
yeah, yeah.
hyphen
So
there's hyphen numbers now. So I mean, like it's like
I was in. I joined in January of '69. I joined the union.
wow.
So I'm 50, coming up to 52 years in the business. I
Well,
guess
c-
53. Yeah.
congratulations, brother. It's
Thanks.
good to hear that. And like I mean, what unions like? So you've been a member? Are you a member of other like
I
SAG and
was
all
in
that?
a. I was no. I'm not SAG. I'm not after. I was a member of Actors Equity, um, because I did a one sort of my one and only uh, full on major stage production at the Citadel Theater in Edmonton. And I was an equity member, and I used my status as an equity member to help me join ACTRA.
Okay, perfect. So voice acting is that
Yes.
sort of is that the thing that like you're like that's it. That's for me. This is how I'm.
I was always more comfortable in that genre.
Mhm.
Always. I did do a fair bit of on-camera work. I did a bunch of films and on-camera commercials.
You were with Wayne and
Um,
you did a Wayne and Schuster
I
episode
was
too.
part of the Wayne and Schuster. I did, yeah, I was the part of their company their last 2 or 3 years. And then I went on to, it was interesting because the director, Trevor Evans, with whom I'm still in contact, he lives in Penticton, BC.
Mhm.
Um, he, after that, cast for a show called Dr. Zonk and the Zunkins.
Mhm.
And he called me in because he knew me, and I met all the criteria for the role, and of course I went through the audition process. And I worked. That was the first series that I worked with John Candy, um, and um, and John. Yeah, we did some. There was some skit material, plus um, I was the voice of one of the little weird little characters, and also the operator inside it. It was crazy. So yeah, but it was a fun start. That led to another CBC series called Coming Up Rosie, and in Coming Up Rosie, done in Toronto, there were 2 seasons of that. The cast was John Candy, Gilda Radner, Dan Aykroyd, Dan Hennessy, Fiona Reed was in it, Catherine O'Hara. Guests were Eugene Levy, Marty Short,
Kind
it
of like an
was
S.
Jane Eastwood.
It's kind
Yeah,
of an SCTV reunion there,
well,
or was that
it
pre?
was. It's pre.
Okay, all right.
It's
So
pre. I mean, most of those people that I talk about were unknowns at that time. Gilda hadn't gone on to, and Dan had not gone on. Catherine was, a Toronto actress, struggling like everybody and as happy as hell to get the job in this little kids sitcom, as
amen
we
to
all
that.
were.
Amen to
And
that.
and on they, on they went to marvelous success. Rick Moranis was in that sort of that group, and a lot of incredibly talented people that I got I was honored to work with and blessed to be able to work with at that time. And so, that those shows were kind of life changing for me.
Wow, that's really cool that you have such a vast amount of like certainly like for absolutely Canadian talent, like you're like right in the middle of it, and now it's been
Mhm.
a part of it too, and will continue to be a part of it.
Yeah, it was really, really something. Johnny and I were very tight friends, and that was important too. I mean, and what was so wonderful was that he was gaining in that magnificent stature that he ultimately attained, and and I was part of watching him, being able to watch him get bigger and bigger. I don't mean physically, although that was the case too. But bigger and bigger, greater stature, and the fandom that started to grow up, and how popular he became, and it was really, really, really magnificent.
And he's such a nice guy too. Like it just like you could tell. Just like I've watched uh, interviews with him, and he's just so humble and so just
He
really,
was.
really beautiful. Actually, personally, they're renaming Dundas Street here in Toronto. I kind of want to be like, hey, name it Candy Street, like after John. Then you could go to Candy and Young, and it just sounds like it's just I don't know. It's just and he's such a major part of
Well,
Canadian
I mean, he's still,
stuff.
and hopefully for a long time,
Oh, absolutely.
he will still be, Toronto's own, well, will always be Toronto's own, but there'll still be that incredible recognition of his immense talent.
Mm.
And you're right about giving. John and I, when the Blue Jays first came to town, 1977, John and I had four seats uh, on the third baseline, which I always like to sit. I used to go see the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball team when they played here, and that's where I always sat, was on the third baseline. And so when the Jays opened, John and I bought seasons tickets, a couple of years worth actually, and went to a lot of games, and I was charged with having open liquor. But silly now to think about. Yeah, oh,
I don't think they're
silly
going
to
to
think
ban
about
you.
it. Yeah. But and those were really, really great days, and Johnny was just starting to get recognized, and he was very, very giving insofar as, well, he was doing Second City right at the time,
Mm-hmm.
just starting the Second City show, and I was the voice of Second City. There's a funny story that goes along with that. We'll deal with that maybe later or another time. But I was the
Always.
voice of Second City, and John would always, when people said, "Oh, you're John Gandy," and he would always say, "Oh, and this is John Stalker. The voice that you hear, and you've seen this commercial, and that's John, right?" He was always giving in that way, and it was like, I thought, hey man, you don't have to do this at all. You're going to you are a star,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't have to share that with me, right? But he was always, that was him. You couldn't buy a drink, John. I'd have to tie his hands behind his back in order for me, him allow me to buy. He would buy drinks for people he just met. He was just crazy generous.
What,
And
what
it came from a very natural, good, warm place in his heart.
that's just touching. My. So getting anyway, as much as I enjoyed talking about John, let's get back to
John.
John. So yeah, I guess we could ask Care Bears to talk about that. Like that's such a memorable role. Like, I mean, Mr. Beastly is just like,
Yeah.
and you played the Rat King too in the when they did the Nutcracker Suite version of
Yeah, and
that.
I was Tweedledum or Tweedledee. I was the Cheshire Cat as well in one of the movies, Care Bears in Wonderland or something or other. Can't remember the name of all of them.
So
Beastly was a wonderful role. It still is my most iconic role. When I do a lot of cons throughout Canada and the state. Well, I used to back before.
we'll get back to it.
We will.
It's coming back. It's coming
It
back.
will, and I'm looking forward to it. And I mean, I've been to New Zealand for a con. That was great. Los Angeles, Vancouver several times. It's a great gig, but I always take Beastly pictures. I've got half a dozen different shots of Beastly that are, and they're still the most in demand of all of the 810s that I autograph. They're still that's still my most iconic. The thing is, Sue, it goes back far enough that Care Bear still has fans, yes, now today, but the moms are as equally, equally as freaked out, like, oh my God, you're the voice of Beastly,
Mr. Beastly.
yeah. So, and yeah, I had a wonderful Rob Kirkpatrick from Nelvana was my first director, and Chuck Rubin also did some voice directing for a couple of years of the series, it was back in the days when there weren't 700 auditions for every part. They called in the people that they knew could handle it. They didn't want to take too much time. Now casting is a career for a lot of people. And whether that's justified or not, who knows? It just is what it is. But in those days, you would be called in, usually by the voice director or the producer. They'd see a few select people, and then they'd pick who they wanted. When they picked me to be Beastly, I came in and they showed me the picture, and Rob said, "What do you got?" And I said, "I mean, for this guy, eh?" And we worked and we played, and then because I teach and I still tell students to do this in animation, steal. When you hear somebody else's voice, you, even unless you're a mimic, and don't mimic, but take the delivery, take the emotional delivery or the attitudinal delivery, and mix it with something that comes from inside you, and you'll come up with a different voice. And there was an old comedian who had his own show for many, many years. I used to watch it with my folks on a regular basis. His name was Jackie Gleason. For anybody that remembers him, he was a funny guy, chunky. He was also a really great serious actor. I think his probably his most memorable movie was The Hustler, where he played Minnesota Fats, the legendary pool player. And he used to do one little thing. He would cross his legs, he would give his monologue, he would introduce people, and then he'd say, "And away we go." And from that line, I took that, "and away we go," and I made it like that. I just pinched it up a little bit. I adapted it, made it comfortable for me, because if you're going to do a voice, you don't want to be spitting blood in 15 minutes, right? So I adapted that. alt credit, Jackie, if you're looking down. Thank you. Uh,
Well, yeah,
so that was Beastly, and Rob said, "I love that. I love that." And I went, "I love it too." And he said, "That's it." And that was the start of the Beastly uh,
character.
delivery.
That
Yeah.
that's amazing. Oh, just involving that. I remember Jason Alexander speaking of like the way that just involved with the voice delivery thing when he voiced Eric Duckman on Duckman, the TV show, and he's like, I just thought it was a one-off, so I went in there and I gave it 110%, like this screamy, high-pitched, like higher range thing, and then I turned out that there's 4 seasons of the thing, and I had to do that all the time, and it's like, oh. He said, looking back, I probably would have taken it a little bit easier off that first draw, but yeah.
And he might not have gotten the gig.
Right? And then, yeah, exactly. It's the subtle things that happen, right? So speaking of the production company, Care Bears, uh,
Nelvana.
Nirvana, yeah, that's it. Uh, they used like a pool of people from like constantly because Daniel versus the Devil versus Daniel Mouse. The guy who played No Heart was the voice of the devil
Dan
in
Hennessy,
yeah.
wasn't it? Dan Hennessy?
I think so, yeah. I'd have to
Yeah, he played. Oh no, No Heart. No, it was not Dan Hennessy. Pardon me, Chris Wiggins. I was thinking of Lionheart Bear was Dan. I think it was Dan Hennessy. Dan was part of that group. No, Chris Wiggins was Beastie. He used to
yeah.
give that.
What
Oh,
a
Chris was magnificent.
what a
British
voice.
actor.
Mhm.
British actor. Fabulous. Chris and I were not bosom buddies, but good friends when we saw each other on set, which was often. We had a great. He was incredibly gifted.
Did they
I
have you?
was just joke. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I just yeah. But did they have you both in the booth at the same time, or like sort of that's the
Rarely,
concept, or you know what I mean?
rarely. I mean, no, it was still pretty much doing separates.
Okay, but you were saying,
But
sorry.
no, I just he once showed me like he had false teeth,
Mm.
right? So I always said to him, "Hey, we're auditioning. So what role are you auditioning for? So and so." And I would say, "Teeth or no teeth?" And he would say, "I don't know. What do you think?" "I don't know, John. What do you think?" I said, "I think this is a no toother." Right? Done. Go in an audition. Chris was great. He passed not that long ago.
Yeah, I
I
recall.
didn't know. I found out like years later. You know, I just I don't know. I don't really hear about actors. I don't follow it that closely. You hear about the bigger names when they die, but the guys and the voice actors are not considered big time actors. Although Chris Wiggins was a magnificent on camera actor as well. Did a lot of work. He was
Oh,
great.
well, it's not a simple task. Like, I mean, like voice acting, like I mean, especially in the '80s, like you got the those constant uh big name. Like I mean, not big names. Like you wouldn't know them per se, but I mean, like if you watch the animated stuff from like the Transformers and GI Joe and like the big action ones, you'd always be able to pick out like, oh, he was this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy, right? Or even the Smurfs, right? Like you hear voices from the Smurfs that are in Transformers, right? Like
Exactly, but you still might not even know their names.
I know, which is
I mean, I honestly only kind of know them because I meet some of these guys and girls on contours,
mhm.
right? And then you kind of swap stories and hey, you were that. How did you come up with that goddamn voice, man? You know, or I love the thing that you do. Oh yeah, well, da, 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 da. It's fun. Um, but yeah, but voice actors just, I mean, the notoriety isn't there, and that's okay. You know what? in the broad scheme of things, whether you got the notoriety or not to sound negative, but we're all footnotes, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. But
So,
you got
and that's okay.
well, you left quite the footnote for sure. That's not
Well,
that's
yeah,
like I mean I go through every now and then I'm watching something because I still watch cartoons and I still love them, but every now and then I'm like that sounds like John, and I like go on IMDb and I'm like and like I was watching Sam and Max. Freelance police, and I was like, there was one guy, like, instantly I was like, sounds like John. Ha! It was.
yeah,
So, Teddy Ruxpin. Let's talk a bit
yeah,
about that because
sure.
that was like sort of my first serialized, true serialized experience because the adventures that they went on, trying to get the crystals and all that. How was that
Teddy
for?
Ruxpin was a really glorious production. Camaraderie was fabulous. Um, and it was, I think, the first, I believe, maybe the first and maybe only series that went 65 episodes on one story arc, which was finding the crystals. But, and Teddy ultimately finding his father,
Yeah.
right? So, but 65 episodes, each a story unto itself, of course,
Mhm.
but one big arc. That was done in Ottawa at Crawley for Crawley Films, and this guy's name, Bill Stevens, was the owner at the time. Crawley had sold it, and Bill Stevens owned it, and the director was Chuck Rubin, and it was done again in Ottawa. So they would, in those days, they would fly me into Ottawa from here, from
Yeah.
Toronto, and they'd put me up in a hotel downtown near the Byward Market, which was great, right in the Byward Market. And they flew up Will Ryan and Phil Barron. Phil played Teddy, and Will played Grubby.
Grubby. Yep.
They flew them up from LA every other weekend.
Wow.
And the rest of the cast was based in Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
There was at that time anyway, I assume there still is, a lovely performance, a group of performers in and around in the Ottawa area. And we would do 2 episodes Saturday, 2, and then 1, I think, on Sunday. And then they would do the music Sunday as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that was done, then they flew us back to our respective homes. But it was lovely you could, and again, it was really regular every other weekend. Just mark it down. That's recording time, and it was really a lot of fun. And
That's
and having a recurring gig as a performer is a lot of fun to start with, even if the gig's bad. It's regular.
yeah.
There's money coming in. There's work, but this was truly doing Teddy was a highlight
Oh,
of
that's
my career.
like you can absolutely tell. Like you just like your voice in that as Newton gimmick there. It was just he's such a beautiful little character. He's just always like almost getting shelled by his neighbor.
Yeah,
That
I
was
actually had to sort of semi-voice match that. Because it was being done in Canada, they needed Canadian content.
Mhm.
So they didn't want to replace Teddy because he was the number one, and they didn't really want to replace Grubby. So the only one that they could replace of the big three that they had to was Newton Gimmick. So I listened to the original guy, and Chuck and I, the voice director, were friends, and we were still friends. And he said, "I know a guy that can hit that off." He said, "You want that? I know a guy. It's right in his wheelhouse." And he called and said, "Can you do this?" And I said, "I sure can." And bang, I did it. He sent it off, and they said, "Yep, that's it. He's the guy."
Oh,
And so
that's great. That's
yeah,
great. A lot of it, and then like when I first started out, same sort of deal. Like uh, who you knew really got you the parts. Sometimes it's
sure.
like, oh yeah, I know
Yeah,
him. Yeah, get him to. One time, I out of the blue, I ran into my. Oh, yeah. I was just at a clothing or a fabric shop buying material for kilt for rugby, and I ran into the director's wife who was buying fabric for there's she stoops to conquer, and the oops, sorry, the one actor dropped out, and they were like, well, we need somebody to come in and play to do this part, and I was like, cool. I was like, so when do we open? He's like, oh, 2 weeks. So I had to like learn everything 2 weeks, and then okay, let's do this. Let's rock and roll. Sure, I'm game. So yeah, it just all of a sudden, boom! It didn't know audition. Just we know that. But then after that, more and more roles came of it, right? So it's the biggest thing is that you gotta just be out there and really
mhm,
really put the foot down, right? So
indeed.
yeah. So what else? You did your Toad and the Super Mario Brothers.
Toad and Super Mario, that was a good.
You did
That
a
was a
lot of voices,
good.
a lot of those ones too. Yeah.
I did. Toad was my number one. I did a lot of characters, as in most series back then, and it's happening again now. They have the main cast do a lot of doubling.
Mhm.
Production saves a lot of money because union-wise, even non-union, if you double characters, it's at a reduced fee. So you might as well, if you've got a versatile performer, use him or her for some small roles as well.
Mhm.
So I did do a lot of secondary roles in Super Mario Brothers Super Show, but Toad was my main one. I get asked for that a lot too. It's pretty popular on the contour. The problem is when you get older, it's tough to do falsetto. So
Yeah,
I kind of fake.
he was really up there, if I remember correctly.
He was, yeah.
Oh
It hurts. That's an instant migraine.
yeah, of course. I won't make you do
No,
that.
well, you won't make me because I just won't do it.
Is there any characters that you wish that you could have done? Like if all of a sudden I
Um,
magically could just be like, hey, yeah, you could be Optimus Prime. I just boom, here you go.
you
Or is there
know,
anyone's that you've just been like, oh man, that would have been so good?
no, I mean, I know it may sound silly, but I got what I deserved. I got a lot of work. I trust in other people to pick me for the things that I'm right for. I still to this day do auditions that I don't get that I think, oh man, I kicked ass. I kicked ass. I took that script and I ate it. I made it dance. And and I think, should have gotten the part, but you don't. You forget about it in 2 days. It's like there are very, very few to this day that I auditioned. Now, you know what? Very few. I don't think there are any, in all truth, that I went, oh God, if I'd only. Sometimes when I look at how many episodes it's run and maybe how much money I could have made, I do that. But
Yeah.
but I listen to the delivery and whoever got the part that is doing a great job. And if I don't think it's a great job, enough people think it's a great job that I'm the one that's probably wrong. It's all a matter of perspective. I'm
Mm.
jaundiced a little bit because I'm going to say, yeah, I could have done that, but not really. Again, even though my work is diminished, uh, I can't. I think it's a waste of time, honestly, to look and say what it could have, should have, might have. I do what I do. I get what I get. When I get a gig, I give it everything. If I don't get it, it's yesterday's news.
That's very Lemmy of you. I'm a big fan of Motorhead, and Lemmy said the same thing. He's like, I don't regret.
Yeah.
I just do my thing, man. Rock and roll.
It's negative. It is, yeah. It's negative, really. It's not horrible, bad negative, but it takes time, it takes energy, and it's not there's nothing you can do about it,
Mhm.
you know. Yeah, we worry too much. I mean, Wayne Dyer said, we only worry about two things: things we can't change and things we can. If you can't change it, why are you worrying? You
Exactly.
can change it. If you can change it, what are you sitting there for? Go change it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Which is
So that's kind of my philosophy right now.
which
And it
sort of
always has been, and it stood me in good stead. My life is great. I own my home. I got a used car, but who cares?
so
I
do
don't have.
I.
Yeah, I'm real happy.
Well, that's
Gets
that.
me where I need to go. So, and I want for really for nothing, maybe, and I know I'm blessed because of that. But I like to think that part of my attitude to in all the years of getting here, the decades of work and the disappointments, it just was what it was.
And
And
so and such a road too, right? Like it just
it's you know what it's a great. I'm still on it too.
I know
Yeah,
the last thing I
it's
saw
good.
was you just recently did was it about unicorns or something? Pegasus or I was just on your IMDb the other day.
Did a guest role, Doctor something or other.
Yeah.
Something unicorn, yeah. And Go Dog Go is current. I've done that. I just finished directing a small, in a couple of days, directing a small film, animated film. Matter of fact, when I hang up from you, I'm got another pitch that somebody approached me about. So I got that tour. It's ongoing, and I audition for stuff commercially and animation wise. Every week there's something.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
instead of being the kid, I now audition for grandpa. You know, but that's okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I,
Uh,
I hope that someday I'm auditioning for great grandpa. You know,
that would be
you know.
awesome, right? Like
Now, John, you're 104 and you're still audition. Yeah, that's right. I do. I'll be right back. I'm just going to change the bag.
oh wow. Man, it like
So,
yeah, it's such an honor to have met you and like in my crossing of existence, that's for sure. Like it's every time we meet and we chat a bit, and like it just like your stories are hence why I asked you onto the program. It's always absolutely a pleasure. I mean, we could continue on, but I feel like this is kind of a good place to end. You got you're saying you need to go get some stones, not get
I'm
stoned.
gonna maybe get flagstones for my daughter's place. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
so
got my big trailer, and you know,
absolutely. But it's again, John, it's been an absolute pleasure. Is there anything you'd like to like at this point? I usually just give the floor to you. Is there anything you want to push?
you
Anything
know,
that's upcoming? Anything you want to say? Like,
no,
yeah, or
no.
keep it a
Uh,
hush hush. Find out later.
yeah, I don't know. And I generally don't promote. I'm not a big social media fan. My daughter runs my Instagram account, and I have probably haven't even looked at it in 2 months. I'm really bad with that stuff. All I want to do is I'll tell you, a lot of people watching this may be interested in getting into the voice industry. And I just want to say it has its heartbreaking moments, but anybody that's interested, competition is steep, but if you love it, do it. Get into it. It can be really rewarding, very creative. You can still maintain some privacy when you're a voice performer, which I love.
Just drop it an
Um,
octave lower and walk in and buy your coffee, right?
well, well, honestly, I've lived in this area for 8 years. I'll bet no more than a handful of people know what I do.
Hmm.
But that's just great. Um, Interesting. I did a little on camera thing here, I guess a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. It's a film called Jump Darling, and I got to work with Frau Bluchter. I got to work with Cloris Leachman, and it was her last uh, main role that she did. She was 94, a vegan, uh, still had her chops, but that was out here in Prince Edward County, which is really, really great. So
Wow.
talking about people knowing me out here, you know, but after I did that, I just disappeared back into my backyard again. But anyway, where I started before I got carried away on my another tangent, anybody that wants to be a voice actor, voice performer, go for it. It's a wonderful creative experience, as I say, and it can be really fulfilling. Give it time, don't rush, enjoy every moment. Otherwise, hey, IT is still looking for people, and we need plumbers, folks, plumbers, electricians,
Welders.
trades. Get into the trade.
Uh, just trying to save your job, John. The young upstarts are coming. Oh dear. Oh man.
Bring them, bring them.
Man, bring it on. I've survived longer than you.
You do the
uh,
falsetto. Come on, I dare you.
yeah. Oh, no thanks. Oh. Well,
All
my
right, buddy.
friend, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining me on this day. And you have yourself a good day, and we'll chat again soon. All right.
I hope so, buddy. Be well. Thanks for thinking of me
All
and
right.
giving me the platform. I'll talk to you really, really soon.
All right.
Stay well,
You,
stay safe.
you too. Much love, my brother. You be well.
Bye for now.
Bye bye. That was awesome. That was just, man, it's such an honor to meet somebody like that, somebody who's, just like words escape me. It's such an honor to know him, and to have him come and talk to me, and talk to us, all of us, at the Bulldog experience. So yeah, now would be the time that I would sit down and discuss. I'm currently talking to somebody about product or advertising. So here would be the advertising, probably at the beginning too, because if you're advertising, it's But it's just saying. So my next guest on the theme of animation and comics and all that is a good friend of mine, fellow Canadian, currently located down in the City of Angels, doing animated stuff. Yeah. So yeah, join me next week on this fabulous Friday for Kelly Turnbull. Uh, it'll be a blast. We're gonna talk about animation, comics, and all that in the biz. So yes, again, thank you for staying. Thank you for coming. Thank you for enjoying what I give to you. Blessings to you all. Score.